The silence before thunder. The video played on every screen on Earth. It played in coffee shops and living rooms. It played on massive public displays in city centers. It played in schools where teachers quickly shut it off. But not before children saw things that would haunt their dreams forever. Fleet Admiral Kang. Do-han watched it in the Underground Command Center beneath the mountains of Korea. He watched it 7 times in complete silence. Around him, the most powerful military leaders in human history sat frozen in their chairs. Some wept. Others stared at nothing. A few had left the room to vomit. Secretary General Lee Myra had not moved since the transmission ended. She was 63 years old, a woman who had led humanity through economic collapse and climate disasters. She had buried 2 husbands and lost a son in a mining accident on Mars. She thought she understood loss. She had been wrong. "Play it again," she said quietly. "Secretary General." Admiral Kang began. "Play it again." He played it again. They watched Una burn. They listened to her screams. They saw the council representatives sitting in their seats, watching a human being die like it was entertainment. When it ended, Myra spoke. "They sent this to everyone? Every colony, every station, every ship." Captain Cho Suni, head of Naval Intelligence, pulled up reports on her tablet. Riots have broken out on 3 worlds. 17 Council embassy staff have been killed by mobs. 2 Council trading vessels have been destroyed by civilian ships ramming them. "Call them back?" Mira said. "Secretary General?" "All civilian ships. All trading vessels. All personnel on alien worlds. Call every human being back to our space. Immediately." General Bei Jie leaned forward. She was the commander of ground forces, a woman who had fought in 3 wars before reaching her current position. "That will take months. The Council will see it as preparation for war." "Good," Myra replied. "Let them see." Admiral Kang finally spoke. His voice was steady, but something burned behind his eyes that had not been there before. "Secretary General, I need to discuss something sensitive. Project Ember." The room went still. Project Ember was classified beyond top secret. Most of the people in the room had never heard of it. Those who had knew it only as a theoretical weapons program, something that existed in research papers and simulations. "That program was shut down," Jihei said. "The physics were unstable. The risks were too high." "The risks of not having it are higher now," Kang replied. "My team continued working in secret. We have working prototypes." Myra studied him for a long moment. "What exactly are we talking about?" Kang stood and walked to the main display. He pulled up diagrams that made several scientists in the room gasp. "Artificial singularities," he said. "Microscopic black holes contained by magnetic fields. Upon impact, the containment fails. The singularity expands for approximately 3 seconds before evaporating due to Hawking radiation. In those 3 seconds, it consumes everything within a radius of 200 meters. You built black hole bombs," Jihye whispered. "I built weapons that can end this war before it destroys us." Kang turned to face the room. "The Council has 12,000 warships. We have 800. In a conventional war, we lose. We lose badly. We lose in a way that means humanity ceases to exist." "And these weapons change that?" Myra asked. "These weapons mean that numbers no longer matter. One of our ships can destroy 100 of theirs. Their shields, their armor, their technology that has been perfected over 50,000 years. None of it can stop a singularity." Suni spoke up. "The Council will respond. They will develop countermeasures. Not if we move fast. Not if we hit them so hard and so quickly that they cannot recover." Kang pulled up star charts. "I have spent 10 years planning for this exact scenario. I hoped it would never come, but I prepared anyway." Myra was quiet for a long time. Outside the bunker, she knew. The world was screaming for vengeance. People who had never cared about politics were demanding war. Parents were volunteering their children for military service. Scientists were abandoning their research to work on weapons. The Council had wanted to frighten humanity into submission. Instead, they had united 11 billion people in a single purpose. "How long do you need?" Myra asked. 6 months. We need to build the delivery systems. We need to train crews. We need to position our forces without alerting Council sensors. The deadline they gave us is 30 days. Kang smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Then we go silent. We recall every ship, every person, every probe. We shut down all communication with the outside galaxy. Let them think we are hiding. Let them think we are afraid. They will come for us eventually, Jihei pointed out. Eventually is not now. 6 months of silence will make them curious, not alarmed. They have been in power for 50,000 years. They are patient. They will wait. Myra nodded slowly. And when the 6 months are over? When the 6 months are over, we teach them why humanity survived ice ages and plagues and wars and every other disaster that should have killed us. We teach them that backing a human into a corner is the worst mistake any species can make. Myra stood. She looked at the faces around her. She saw grief and rage and determination. She saw people ready to die for their species. She saw the same fire that had carried humanity from caves to the stars. "Do it," she said. "Admiral Kang has full authority over military operations. All civilian resources are redirected to military production. All colonies are to begin fortification immediately." She paused, looking at the frozen image of Yuna's face still displayed on one of the screens. The ambassador had been smiling in her official portrait. She had believed in peace. She had believed in the goodness of other species. She had been wrong. But her death would not be meaningless. "Send a final message to the Council," Myra ordered. "Tell them we need time to consider their terms. Tell them we will respond within 1 year. Be polite. Be humble. Let them believe we are broken. And then?" Suni asked. Myra's eyes were cold as ice. "And then we show them what broken humans are capable of." The ambassador's flame. The ship had traveled for 14 months through the cold emptiness of space. Inside, Ambassador Park Yuna had spent those long months preparing for this moment. She had studied every known species in the Galactic Council. She had learned their customs, their languages, their fears, and their desires. She believed that with enough patience and respect, humanity could find its place among the stars. She was wrong. The transport pod descended through the pink clouds of Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. Yuna pressed her face against the window like a child seeing snow for the first time. Below her stretched a city that covered an entire continent. Towers of crystal and metal reached toward the sky. Flying vehicles moved in perfect patterns like schools of fish. It was beautiful beyond anything she had imagined. When the pod landed, a delegation of aliens waited for her. They were Velthari, a species that looked like tall insects with 4 arms and large compound eyes. Their translator devices clicked and hummed as they spoke words of formal welcome. But Yuna noticed that none of them would meet her eyes. None of them smiled, if their faces could even make such an expression. They led her through corridors of polished stone. Statues of ancient heroes from 100 different worlds lined the walls. Each one represented a species that had earned its place in the Council through centuries of service and obedience. Humanity had existed in space for only 200 years. To the Council, humans were infants. Worse than infants. They were insects who had somehow learned to build starships. The Great Chamber was the largest room Yuna had ever seen. The ceiling disappeared in the darkness far above. Seats rose in circular tiers around a central platform, and in those seats sat representatives of over 800 species. Some were massive, filling spaces meant for 10 ordinary beings. Others were so small that they sat in groups of hundreds. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others existed inside special containers, filled with methane or ammonia, or stranger things. At the highest tier sat the Founding Council. 12 species who had ruled the galaxy for over 50,000 years. They looked down at Una with expressions that ranged from boredom to open disgust. The Arbiter, a creature named Thraxus, rose from his seat. He was enormous, nearly 4 meters tall, with a body covered in black armor plates and eyes that glittered like dark jewels. He had led the council for 3,000 years. In all that time, no decision had been made without his approval. "You are the human ambassador," Thraxus said. His voice was deep and cold, translated into perfect English by the devices in the chamber. "You have come far." "I have," Una replied. She kept her voice steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. "I bring greetings from the people of Earth and all human colonies. We seek friendship with the Galactic Council. We hope to learn from your wisdom and share our own humble achievements." Silence followed her words. Then Counselor Veth, a serpentine being covered in scales that changed color with his mood, made a sound that might have been laughter. "Share your achievements," Veth repeated. "What achievements would those be?" "Your species discovered fire a mere 100,000 years ago. You have been in space for 2 centuries. What could you possibly offer us?" "We offer our creativity," Una said. "Our determination. Our ability to adapt to any environment. We have colonized 3 worlds in 50 years. We have developed technologies that your own scientists have shown interest in. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves." "Prove yourselves?" Thraxus leaned forward. "We have been watching you prove yourselves, Ambassador. We have watched your population grow without control. We have watched you spread from world to world like a disease. We have watched you consume resources with no thought for the future." Una felt cold sweat on her back. "We are a young species. We are still learning. With guidance, we can do better." "You misunderstand," Thraxus said. His voice held no emotion. "We did not invite you here to offer guidance. We invited you here to deliver terms." A holographic display appeared in the air before Una. It showed maps of human space, with clear red lines marking boundaries that did not currently exist. "Humanity will halt all expansion immediately," Thraxus announced. "You will surrender your colony ships to Council custody. You will submit to population controls on all worlds. You will reduce your numbers by 40% within 10 generations. You will accept Council observers on every human planet. These terms are not negotiable." Una stared at the display. Her heart pounded in her chest. "You are asking us to give up our future, to let our people die. We cannot accept these terms." "We are not asking," Thraxus said. Una looked around the chamber. 800 species watched her in silence. Not one of them spoke in her defense. Not one of them showed sympathy. She was alone, surrounded by beings who saw her entire species as nothing more than pests to be controlled. "Then I must return to my government," Una said. "They will need to discuss this." "There is nothing to discuss," Thraxus replied. "And you will not be returning." The floor beneath Una's feet began to glow. She looked down and saw metal plates turning orange, then yellow, then white. Heat rushed up through her shoes. She tried to run, but the glowing circle was already too wide. There was nowhere to go. "What are you doing?" She screamed. "We are sending a message," Thraxus said calmly. "Your species responds to demonstrations. This is a demonstration." The pain was beyond anything Una had ever imagined. Her feet burned first, the flesh cooking inside her boots. She fell to her knees and felt her hands blister against the superheated metal. Somewhere far away, she heard herself screaming. The sound echoed through the chamber while 800 species, watched in silence. Recording devices captured every moment. Her clothes caught fire. Her hair turned to ash. Still, she screamed. Still, she tried to crawl away from the burning floor that followed her wherever she went. It took 4 minutes for Ambassador Park Yuna to die. 4 minutes of agony while the Galactic Council watched without expression. When it was over, only a blackened shape remained on the scorched floor. Thraxis turned to the recording devices. Transmit this to every human world. Include the following message. Submit to council terms within 30 days, or your species will be erased from existence. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The transmission went out at faster than light speeds. Within hours, every human being in the galaxy would see what the council had done to their ambassador. The council expected fear. They expected panic. They expected surrender. They did not expect what came next. The Volf awakened 6 months of silence. 6 months of darkness. 6 months of nothing. The Galactic Council had expected many things from humanity. Surrender. Desperation. Perhaps a foolish attack that could be easily crushed. What they had not expected was silence. Human colonies stopped transmitting. Trade routes went empty. Communication buoys that had connected human space to the rest of the galaxy were systematically dismantled. Scouts sent to investigate found empty stations and abandoned outposts. It was as if 11 billion humans had simply vanished into the void. Councilor Veth found it amusing. They are hiding like animals in holes, waiting for the predator to leave. Animals in holes can be dangerous, warned Scholar Bentis, one of the few council members who had studied human history. This species survived an ice age by hunting creatures 10 times their size. They did not hide from fear. They hide to prepare. Prepare for what? Veth laughed. They have 800 ships. We have 12,000. Any preparation they make is meaningless. Arbiter Thraxis said nothing. He remembered the look in Ambassador Yuna's eyes before she died. Not just fear. Something else. Something that had kept him awake on many nights since Defiance in the Orc cloud. Far beyond the orbits of any planet, humanity had been very busy indeed. Commander Han Yunji floated in zero gravity, watching through the observation window as the final touches were applied to the warship below. The vessel was beautiful in a terrifying way, black as space itself, covered in materials that absorbed every form of radiation. To council sensors, it would be invisible. A ghost ship crewed by ghosts seeking revenge. The Yuna's Promise is ready for launch, reported Lieutenant Yun Taiho, her tactical officer. He was young, only 26, but he had the cold eyes of someone who had watched the execution video too many times. How many do we have now? Yunji asked. 47 stealth cruisers, 200 standard destroyers, 15 carrier vessels. Taiho checked his tablet. Admiral Kang reports the main fleet will be ready within the week. Yunji nodded. 6 months ago, they had started with 800 aging ships. Now they had over 2,000 built in secret shipyards carved into asteroids and hidden moons. Every factory on every human world had been converted to military production. Citizens had worked 18-hour shifts. Children had helped assemble components. The elderly had donated their savings to buy materials. No one had complained. No one had asked for rest. The memory of Yuna burning alive drove them forward with a fury that surprised even themselves. What about Project Ember? Yunji asked. Taiho's expression darkened. Every ship is armed. The Admiral insisted on it. Good. Yunji pushed herself away from the window. Signal the fleet. We move in 6 hours. The plan was simple in concept and devastating in execution. Instead of attacking Nexus Prime directly, the human fleet would strike at 12 Council supply depots simultaneously. These stations provided fuel, ammunition, and repairs to the vast Council Navy. Without them, the 12,000 Council warships would find themselves stranded far from home, unable to fight effectively. More importantly, the attacks would demonstrate that humanity was not hiding in fear. They were hunting. The fleet moved through uncharted wormholes that human scientists had secretly mapped for decades. The Council believed they controlled all faster-than-light travel routes. They were wrong. Humans had found paths that no other species had ever discovered. Hidden passages through space-time that led directly to the enemy's soft. Underbelly.eung stood on the bridge of the Eunice. Promise as they emerged from the wormhole near Supply Station. Theta 9. The station was massive. A spinning wheel of metal and light that housed 50,000 workers and enough fuel to power 1,000 warships. Enemy vessels? She asked. 37 patrol ships, Taiho replied. Standard Council configuration. They have not detected us. Open a channel to all ships. Attack formation. The stealth cruisers moved like shadows through space. The Council patrol ships never saw them coming. The first warning they received was when Singularity missiles tore through their hulls. Eung watched as the weapons did their terrible work. A Council destroyer simply disappeared, crushed into a point of light by the artificial black hole before it evaporated in a burst of radiation. Another ship tried to run and was cut in half by a second missile. Within minutes, the patrol fleet was gone. Target the station, Yunji ordered. Commander, there are 50,000 people on that station, Taiho said quietly. Yunji's face showed nothing. There were 11 billion people watching when they burned our ambassador. They cheered. They laughed. They voted to exterminate us. She turned to face him. I will not lose sleep over enemy logistics personnel. The missiles launched. Supply Station Theta 9 died in silence, its atmosphere venting into space, its structure collapsing in on itself as artificial gravity generators failed. By the time anyone could have sent a distress signal, there was nothing left to send it. Across the galaxy, 11 other stations met the same fate at the same moment. In 19 minutes, humanity destroyed the Council's ability to maintain its military far from home. In 19 minutes, the balance of power shifted. Yunji opened a channel to Admiral Kang's flagship. 12 targets destroyed. No survivors. No human casualties. Kang's voice came back, steady and cold. Well done, Commander. Return to rally point and await further orders. What are our next orders, Admiral? We let them panic. We let them wonder what else we can do. And then we show them. Yunji smiled for the first time in 6 months. The wolf had awakened, and it was hungry. The burning of Nexus, the Galactic Council had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. In all that time, they had crushed 312 species that dared to challenge them. They had destroyed worlds. They had erased entire civilizations from history. They believed themselves undefeatable. 3 weeks after the supply depot attacks, they learned the truth. Admiral Kang Dohan stood on the bridge of the Eternal Soul, flagship of the combined Terran Armada. Behind him, through the massive viewport, stretched the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. 2,000 warships, each one armed with weapons that the Council could not understand, could not stop, could not survive. Ahead of them lay Nexus Prime. The Council's defense fleet had been recalled from across the galaxy. 9,000 vessels hung in formation around the capital world, their weapons charged, their crews ready. They still outnumbered the humans 4-1. They still believed they would win. Commander Shin Mai-Rei, the tactical officer, studied the enemy formation. They are using the crescent defense pattern. Standard council doctrine for protecting a fixed position. Predictable, Kang replied. They have been using that formation for 10,000 years. They have never faced an enemy that required them to change. Today they will learn. Kang nodded. He thought of his wife, waiting on Earth. He thought of his children, who had volunteered for military service the day after Yuna's death. He thought of the billions of humans who had worked themselves to exhaustion building these ships, making these weapons. Preparing for this moment, he would not fail them. Open a channel to all ships, he ordered. The communication system hummed to life. Every captain, every crew member, every soldier in the fleet could hear his voice. 6 months ago, the Galactic Council murdered Ambassador Park Yuna. They burned her alive while 800 species watched. They broadcast her death to our children. They told us to submit or die. He paused, letting his words settle. Today, we give them our answer. Today, we show them what humanity does when threatened with extinction. Today, we teach them a lesson they will remember for the next 50,000 years. He turned to Myray. Launch Project Ember. First wave. From every human ship, missiles began to launch. Hundreds of them, then thousands, streaming toward the Council fleet like a swarm of angry insects. The Council ships opened fire, their defensive weapons creating a wall of energy designed to destroy incoming projectiles. The Singularity missiles did not care about defensive weapons. They passed through energy shields like they were not there. They ignored point defense lasers and interceptor drones. When they struck Council ships, there was no explosion. There was simply absence. One moment, a vessel existed. The next moment, a tiny black hole consumed it from the inside out. The first Council battle line vanished in less than 30 seconds. All ships, advance. Khan commanded. The Terran fleet surged forward. Council admirals, shocked by the destruction of their forward line, struggled to reorganize. Their communication networks were flooded with panicked reports. Ships that had fought together for centuries suddenly found themselves scattered and confused. Human ships moved through the chaos with deadly precision. Pilots flew with a fury that pushed their bodies to the breaking point. Marine boarding parties launched themselves at Council vessels, cutting through airlocks and overwhelming crews that had never experienced close-quarters combat. Smaller fighters wove between capital ships, targeting weapon systems and engines. On the bridge of the Eternal Soul, alarms blared as enemy fire found its mark. The shields flickered. Hull sections reported damage. Medical teams rushed to treat wounded crew members. Status report, Kang demanded. We have lost 300 ships, Myray reported. But the Council has lost 4,000. Their command ship is exposed. Kang looked at the tactical display. There, in the center of the Council formation, sat the massive vessel that served as Arbiter Thraxis's flagship. It was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that could destroy planets. It was also, at this moment, vulnerable. All carriers, launch boarding parties. Target the command ship. Kang gripped his command chair as another impact shook the Eternal Soul. I want Thraxis alive. 50 transport ships broke away from the main fleet. Council defenders tried to intercept them, but human escort fighters drove them back. The transports attached to the command ship's hull and cut through with plasma torches. Inside, 2,000 human Marines began their assault. Lieutenant Kao Jisoo led the first team through the burning corridors. The command ship's interior was vast and alien, filled with strange architecture designed for creatures that did not breathe oxygen. Council security forces met them at every junction. The fighting was brutal and close. Marines fell, but more came behind them. Keep moving, Jisoo shouted. The bridge is 3 levels up. They fought their way through medical bays and engineering sections. They passed rooms filled with council species cowering in corners, too terrified to resist. Jisoo ignored them. She had one target, and nothing would stop her from reaching it. The bridge doors were sealed with the strongest materials the council possessed. Jisoo simply attached a singularity charge to the wall beside them. When it detonated, it took the doors and everything behind them. Arbiter Thraxus stood alone on his bridge. His crew lay dead around him, killed by his own hand rather than face capture. He held a weapon in one of his 4 hands, pointing it at the humans entering his domain. "You have destroyed everything," he said. His translator made his voice sound almost sad. 50,000 years of peace. 50,000 years of order. Gone in a single day. Jisoo raised her own weapon. "You burned our ambassador alive. She was one person. You have killed millions today, and you would have killed billions." Jisoo stepped closer. "Drop your weapon. The Admiral wants you alive." Thraxus was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he let his weapon fall to the floor. "You have won this battle," he said, "but the galaxy will never accept human rule. You are too young, too violent, too unpredictable." Jisoo smiled grimly. "We are not here to rule. We are here to make sure no one ever burns a human alive again." She activated her communicator. "Admiral, we have him." In space, the battle was ending. 4,000 council ships drifted as wreckage. The orbital platforms around Nexus Prime were slag. The remaining enemy vessels were powering down their weapons and transmitting surrender signals. Admiral Kang looked at the destruction and felt no joy. Only a cold satisfaction that the job was done. "Open a channel to the planet's surface," he ordered. "Tell them the war is over. Tell them they have lost." The transmission went out, and across the galaxy, species that had watched humanity burn began to understand that a new power had risen, one that would never kneel again. The New Order 1 year had passed since the Battle of Nexus Prime. 1 year since humanity broke the Galactic Council's power forever. 1 year since the galaxy changed. Secretary General Lee Mira walked through the corridors of the same building where Ambassador Park Yuna had died. The walls had been rebuilt. The plasma conduits that had burned Yuna alive had been torn out and replaced with ordinary flooring. In the center of the great chamber, a statue now stood. Yuna's face looked upward, carved in white stone. Her expression peaceful despite everything she had suffered. Myra touched the base of the statue gently before taking her place at the speaking platform. The chamber was full. Not 800 species watching in silence anymore. 1,200 species now sat in the tiers above her, representing every known civilization in the galaxy. Some were former council members who had surrendered. Others were species that the council had oppressed for thousands of years, finally free to speak. And in the front row sat the heroes of humanity's war. Admiral Kan Dohan, his hair now completely gray from stress and exhaustion. Commander Han Yunji, who had led the first attacks. Lieutenant Ko Jisoo, who had captured Thraxus himself. Commander Shin Mai-rei, Captain Cho Suni, General Bei Jie, the faces of those who had saved their species. 1 year ago, Myra began, the Galactic Council made a decision. They decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist. They decided that our growth, our creativity, our determination to survive made us a threat to their 50,000 years of power. She paused, letting her words echo through the chamber. They were right. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Mira raised her hand for silence. Humanity is dangerous. We are violent. We are unpredictable. When you back us into a corner, we do not surrender. We attack with every weapon we have, every idea we can create, every ounce of strength in our bodies. This is who we are. This is who we have always been. She looked around at the alien faces watching her. Some showed fear. Others showed respect. A few showed something that might have been hope. The council thought these qualities made us monsters. They thought the only solution was to control us or destroy us. That they made a mistake. They judged us by our worst impulses without understanding our best ones. Myra gestured to the statue behind her. Park Yuna came to this chamber seeking peace. She believed that different species could work together, could learn from each other, could build something greater than any single civilization could achieve alone. The council killed her for that belief. They thought her death would frighten us into submission. Her voice hardened. Instead, her death united us. 11 billion people, working together with a single purpose. Scientists and soldiers, children and elders. We built ships in 6 months that should have taken years. We developed weapons that the council had dismissed as impossible. We did this not because we are monsters, but because we refused to let our people die without a fight. Admiral Kang watched Mira speak and felt something strange. Pride, yes, but also exhaustion. The war had cost humanity 400,000 lives. Ships destroyed. Families broken. Young people who would never grow old. He had ordered those people to their deaths. He would carry that weight forever, but it had been necessary. That was what he told himself every night when sleep would not come. It had been necessary. Myra continued. The Galactic Council has been dissolved. The founding races have submitted to tribunals for their crimes against humanity and other species. Former Arbiter Thraxis has been sentenced to life imprisonment for ordering the execution of Ambassador Yuna. She took a deep breath. Some have called for humanity to take the Council's place, to rule the galaxy as they did, through fear and force. I understand this desire. After what was done to us, revenge feels natural. But we will not become what we fought against. The chamber fell completely silent. Humanity proposes a new order. Not an empire, but a confederation. Not a hierarchy, but a partnership. Every species will have a voice. Every species will have protection. We will share our knowledge freely with any who ask. We will defend the weak against the strong. Myra looked at the assembled representatives with fierce determination. And in exchange, we ask only one thing. Never again. Never again will a species be burned alive for seeking peace. Never again will the powerful destroy the weak simply because they can. Never again will the galaxy be ruled by those who answer diplomacy with murder. She raised her voice for the final words. To those who would test this new order, who would threaten humanity or any species under our protection, I say this. We remember what was done to us. We remember the silence of those who watched. We have not forgotten, and we never will. Should anyone threaten us again, should anyone believe that humanity has grown soft or complacent, let them remember what we did when we had only 800 ships against 12,000. Let them imagine what we will do now that we control the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Peace is our goal. Cooperation is our method. But make no mistake, we are still the species that survived ice ages by hunting mammoths with sticks. We are still the species that clawed its way from caves to the stars through sheer stubborn refusal to die. We offer friendship to all who want it. But we will never again let ourselves be vulnerable to those who would destroy us. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, representatives began to rise from their seats. Not in protest. In acknowledgement. In acceptance. In something that looked almost like hope. Admiral Kang rose with them. Beside him, Commander Yunji was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. Lieutenant Jisoo stood at attention, her expression proud. They had won. Not just the war, but something more important. They had proven that humanity deserved its place among the stars, The statue of Park Yuna gazed down at the assembly, a silent witness to everything that had happened since her death. She had come seeking peace and found only fire. But from that fire, something new had risen. Galaxy that would never forget the price of underestimating humanity, a species that would never again kneel to tyrants, a memorial to a young woman who had believed in a better future, and whose death had made that future possible. Outside the great chamber, the pink clouds of Nexus Prime drifted past the windows. Somewhere among those clouds, human ships patrolled alongside former enemies now turned to lies. Children who had watched Yuna burn were growing up in a galaxy that their parents had remade through blood and sacrifice. It was not the peace Yuna had dreamed of. It was harder, more complicated, built on graves and victories and the terrible knowledge of what humans could do when pushed too far, but it was peace nonetheless. And humanity intended to keep it, whatever the cost. The wolf had awakened, had fought, had won. Now it would guard the flock forever.